Hold on tight, because what I'm about to tell you is nothing short of historic. A brand new immigration law has just been passed in the United States, and it's sending shockwaves through every corner of the immigrant community. Whether you've lived in America for decades, you just arrived in the last few years, or you have family members still hoping to come, this is the moment you absolutely cannot ignore. Congress has finally taken action on immigration, something people have been waiting on for years. And while part of this new law offers hope, opportunity, and long-awaited reform, there's also a strict new rule that could completely change life for anyone who isn't a U.S. citizen. Green card holders, pay close attention because even you are not fully protected under this new system. For the first time in history, Democrats and Republicans came together to push through a massive immigration reform while Donald Trump is back in the White House. No one saw this level of cooperation coming. No one expected the details inside this new law to be this tough. And no one expected a simple mistake, something as common as a DUI, to become a life-changing event that could cost you everything. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will affect millions of families, and it may change the future you imagined in America. Now that we've opened the door to this conversation, let's take our time and walk through every part of this reform together. I want you to feel calm, informed, and prepared. This isn't about fear. This is about clarity. When laws change this dramatically, the best thing you can do is understand exactly what they mean, how they work, and what steps you can take to protect yourself and your loved ones. So, let's settle in and break this down piece by piece. The first major change this reform brings is something many immigrants were not expecting. Under the new law, anyone who is not a U.S. citizen will now be labeled as a non-citizen. This may sound like a small detail, but it comes with big consequences. Before this reform, green card holders were generally treated differently from other immigrants. They had more security, more rights, and a lot more stability. But now, under the law just passed, green card holders will be on the same playing field as temporary visa holders, international students, workers, and almost everyone else who hasn't become a citizen yet. This shift is significant because it means the government can apply stricter rules to all non-citizens without making exceptions. For a long time, many permanent residents felt that their green card was a kind of shield, a promise that they could stay in the United States as long as they followed the rules. But the truth is, immigration law has always allowed the government to revoke a green card in certain situations. What's different now is how far that authority has been expanded, and how easily a person can lose their status. One of the biggest and most controversial pieces of this reform focuses entirely on DUIs, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. In the past, a DUI might have led to fines, classes, or community service. It depended on the state and the specific situation. Many people continued living their lives afterward, without imagining the immigration consequences it might carry. But under this new law, a single DUI, just one, has become a grounds for inadmissibility and automatic deportation. Let's talk about what inadmissible really means. If an immigrant is deemed inadmissible, it means the U.S. government has the right to deny them entry into the country even if they already live here. It sounds confusing, but here's how it works. If you travel abroad and try to come back, you may be stopped at the border. Even more shocking, you can be labeled inadmissible without ever leaving the country simply because the law says you no longer qualify to stay. And under this reform, a DUI, whether it's a conviction, an admission, or even acknowledging the elements of the offense, is enough to trigger this label. The wording of the law is strikingly strict. It doesn't matter how your state treats the offense. Some states consider DUI a misdemeanor. Some treat it as a low-level offense, and others handle it more aggressively. But now, none of that matters. Federal law overrides state law, and the federal government is treating every DUI the same way, as a deportable offense for non-citizens. Think about that for a moment. Someone who has lived in the United States for 20 or 30 years, someone who has paid taxes, raised children here, worked here, bought a home, and contributed to their community. If that person makes one mistake behind the wheel, they could lose everything. Not only their green card, but also their ability to return to the country they've built their life in. The reform leaves no room for second chances. What makes this even more alarming is that the law includes not only convictions, but also admissions. Many immigrants don't realize that simply telling an officer, a judge, or even an immigration agent that they consumed alcohol before driving can count as an admission. In some cases, even acknowledging that you understand the basic elements of a DUI offense, such as operating a vehicle under the influence, can be held against you. This means thousands of people who never thought they were in danger could suddenly find themselves facing immigration consequences. Now, you might be wondering why Congress decided to take such a harsh stance. Lawmakers say the goal is to protect American citizens. They argue that driving under the influence puts lives at risk and that the government should prioritize the safety of everyone on the road. By making DUI an automatic disqualifier for non-citizens, Congress believes it will reduce dangerous behavior and encourage stricter compliance with the law. Whether or not you agree with their reasoning, this is the direction leadership has chosen, and it's important to understand how deeply it impacts the immigrant community. But this reform isn't only about punishment. There's another side to it that offers real opportunity. Congress has created a new path forward for millions of immigrants who have been waiting years, sometimes decades, for a chance to legalize their status. The reform includes updated processing rules, new immigration categories, and a potential road-to-work authorization for people who previously had none. For many families, this part of the law feels like long overdue progress. However, the opportunity comes with a very clear warning. To qualify for any of these benefits, immigrants must demonstrate good moral character. This term has existed in immigration law for a long time, but under the new reform, its definition has tightened dramatically. A DUI now automatically disqualifies someone from being considered of good moral character. That means you cannot apply for citizenship, cannot renew certain immigration benefits, and cannot access the new programs created under this reform. It is a complete barrier, and it stays on your record for years. This is why so many immigration experts are calling the new law a turning point, not because it closes the door completely, but because it raises the standards in ways that will affect millions of people. For many immigrants, especially older individuals who have lived in the U.S. for decades. This reform is a reminder that citizenship is the only true protection. Green cards offer security, but only up to a point, and now that point has become sharper than ever. What makes this moment even more significant is that the reform passed with bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans came together to approve one of the strictest, most sweeping immigration actions the U.S. has ever seen, all while Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office once again. This level of cooperation is rare, and it signals that both parties want stricter enforcement, paired with new options for legal status. It is an interesting combination. Hope on one side and consequences on the other. For immigrants watching from the outside, it can feel overwhelming. Many are scared, many feel uncertain, many worry about their family's future. That's completely understandable. But it's also important to remember that knowledge is power. Understanding these new rules gives you the ability to protect yourself and make good decisions. If you're a green card holder, the message is simple. Stay vigilant. Follow the law. Avoid risky situations. Don't drive if you've had a drink. Don't assume that old rules still apply. The stakes have changed and the consequences are now more severe than ever before. If you have family members who are immigrants, children, siblings, parents, make sure they understand this as well. Sometimes the biggest danger is believing that a small mistake doesn't matter. Under this reform, it matters more than ever. And if you've been thinking about applying for citizenship, but kept putting IT off, now is the time to take action. Citizenship is the only way to fully protect your future in the United States. It gives you rights that no law can take away and shields you from the immigration consequences that non-citizens now face. In the end, this reform is both a warning and an opportunity. It tightens the rules, but it also opens new doors. Understanding the balance between those two sides is the key to navigating this new chapter in American immigration. And as always, we'll be here to keep you updated, informed, and prepared for whatever comes.